Hey, so with the new Rune Reforged update, it's been out a while now. I've been able to play a bunch of Aram games, get it all under my belt, trying out all the different rune pages and any of the fun shit that you can do. And now I'm going to be remaking a previous version of my guide that seems to be getting some hits with a new updated version for the new rune system where, right, runes and masteries combined. So before we get started, I will have some kind of like template builds that I'll put like a timestamp or like a link somewhere in the description down below. So if you guys just want that, then just click that and go to that. But if you're here for more of a like longer form, like actual breakdown of what's good and why it's good, well, then we'll get into that right now. So we'll start off with the precision tree. And to start off, the standard is press the attack. The extra damage that you take or that you do to enemies is really, really nice, especially if they have like a tank or like a bruiser right in your face. It's really, really good. So this is kind of like the standard that you take. Lethal tempo is really good if you have a attack speed steroid or you naturally scale with attack speed. So things like Kindred, it's pretty good on. Vayne really could go either or. Tristana, Kog'Maw, they go really well with lethal tempo. And then Fleet Footwork it's pretty fun to play as it, just because you get so much more move speed and everything like that. But it's not all that useful. It's pretty good on Graves, just being able to like kind of run in, get your shots off, run out. It's also pretty good on Jhin, but that's pretty much that. For the next tier, Overheal's really the only like useful one in this tier. So take Overheal. Triumph, it's nice, but it's 15% of missing health. So it's like, I don't really like it, and I don't find Presence of Mind useful at all, but that's just me. For the Legend Alacrity, or the Legend tier, Legend Alacrity is pretty good. If you're going to take like Lethal Tempo and you scale off attack speed well, then take Alacrity, get that 18% extra attack speed, it's good. Tenacity, I don't think that it's super useful, because if you get caught, you're going to die regardless. I don't think that an extra 20% tenacity will do all that much for you. And then Legend Bloodline is my kind of usual go-to standard, 8% bonus lifesteal. It's just great, and you'll be getting the 10 stacks to stack it up like super easy. For the final tier, Coup de Grace is pretty good if you naturally scale off of like missing health of enemies. So for instance, like if you're, I don't know, like a Garen where your ult naturally scales off missing health, well, Coup de Grace is pretty good. It's also good if you're like a bruisery champ and just want to like finish off those kills, as right, an enemy with 1 HP can still put out as much damage as an enemy with 100 or like 1,000 HP. So just clean the kills. I usually just go for cut down, having that kind of like innate health shred, dealing more damage. It's kind of like a little bit like a Bork and a little bit like a Last Whisper, like ingrained into your kit, so it's nice. And then Last Stand, I just don't like it because it's situational. It's based on you having low health, which you don't really want to have low health. So, like, great, you're doing 12% increased damage at 30% health, but you could, like, die immediately afterwards, so I don't think it's all that useful. So, my usual build, which we'll go through later, I'd probably do something like this. Grab the press the attack, the Overheal, the Legend Bloodline, and cut down. Okay, moving on to Domination. Electrocute's pretty good, kind of like your Thunderlord's Decree of old, but you have to be a champion that's really going to be able to hit these 3 separate attacks or abilities. So something with like low cooldowns, like, I don't know, like a Rise would be able to hit this pretty well. Just a champ that is like a Rengar even, just like jump in Q auto Q, or like Q auto. You know what I mean. Get them off. Predator's pretty much not great. I mean, if you're like a Rengar and you're ulting and you channel it to just like run full speed at their backline, it has its uses. I don't think it's that great. But Predator or Dark Harvest is actually a bit overpowered, just with the speed of which the games take place and how many champion kills that will actually be occurring. It's really easy to stack this up to 150 soul essence around like the 10-minute mark, so you'll be getting that extra bonus AD and AP to hit, and it's great. Plus, it doesn't have a recharge time like some of the other ones do, where it's like great. Predator has a 100-second cooldown. This, if someone dies, you can just re-proc it, and it just keeps getting better as the game goes on because you have more soul essence. Moving on to this tier, Cheap Shot I really like if you have a lot of CC on your team. So being able to like actually proc it, deal that bonus damage. Also a 4-second cooldown isn't all that long. Taste of Blood I'm not too fond of. I think the cooldown of 20 seconds is a bit too long, and the healing, if they bumped like the ratios, it would be better, but it's not super great. And then Sudden Impact I also really like if you're playing a champion with a dash or a jump. So if you're, let's say, a Rengar again, if you're a Ezreal, like Lucian, Graves, like someone who can like jump in, Rocket, Kindred, this works super well on. Like every single time you press your Q, you get Sudden Impact. It's super great. The like lethality magic pen is amazing. Of these zombie wards, there's no wards, doesn't matter. Ghost Poro is super good, like giving you advanced bush control. Really nice. I don't think that Eyeball Collection is super great. The bonus like AD and AP is nice, but I think that having that extra bit of vision with Ghost Poro is a bit better. Plus, this takes a while to actually get stacked up, but not too long. Out of these, Ravenous Hunter, I think, is by far the best. It's also really amazing if you take this on some AP champions. So, like Zyra, having all your plants heal you is super nice. So this one can be really, really good. Active items CDR, it's nice if you're going to be building a lot of active items. But if you're not going to be, it's not worth it. And Relentless Hunter, it's out of combat move speed, so the second you get in combat, you're gonna feel slower, so I wouldn't really get this. Not that great. Into Sorcery. We'll start off with the usual is your Arcane Comet that you'll take, does more damage. If you do have a shield, like you're an Orianna or Janna, it's better to take Aerie because it actually applies on your shields. And it's actually a pretty nice, like 0.25 AP ratio is really nice. Phase Rush is more situational if you're a champ like, let's say, Rise, being able to like QWE someone, put off your combo, get that movement speed to like run out or keep going in, depending on how well that engage is going. It's really nice to do that. Also, if you're maybe like a Syndra and want to like follow up some more, although Syndra, I'd still say you should probably take Comet, but something where you'd actually be hitting those three abilities in quick succession to proc it. In this tier, I don't think Nullifying Orb is all that great, so we'll just move on. Mana Flow Band, I think this is pretty much almost if you are AP, you probably should be taking Mana Flow Band. Just the extra mana it gives you. If you're out of mana in lane, you can't do shit, so it's much better to have mana and be able to actually, cast your spells. So it's super good. Plus, like once you get like a Morello's or like a tier on top of this, you should never have mana issues, and it's really nice. But if you really want and you're a ultimate dependent champion, like let's say a Mumu who the team's really reliant on his ult to go in, or you don't have mana, so let's say you're an Akali or a Rumble, Ultimate Hat is also really nice to get that bonus CDR on your ult. Out of these three, I think Transcendence is the best. The bonus CDR at level 10, 10%, you can't... It's always good. Get that for free. The CDR exceeding the limit, I don't think is all that useful. I really just get this for the bonus 10% CDR. Clarity, it's bonus move speed, and it's really not that much. I would not really get this. And then Absolute Focus, I just don't like it because it's situational, because you have to be above 70% health, and if you're probably going to be taking a sorcery page, you probably won't have that much health, so it's really easy for you to get chunked below 70% health, at which point Absolute Focus goes out the window and doesn't matter. This tier, Scorch is pretty much the only thing that's good, getting that extra magic damage out. 20-second cooldown is a bit high, but Water Walking, well, there's no river, so this doesn't matter. And Gathering Storm, it takes too long for it to actually build up, where a lot of the fighting and combat will be occurring before the 10-minute mark. So It's like you're not gonna have like a 60-minute ARAM. That just doesn't happen. Probably at the latest you could get like a 30-40, at which point it's kind of worth it, but just having the extra like damage pressure right off the bat with Scorch is nice. Moving on to Resolve. In the Keystones, the standard is Grasp of the Undying, so going in, being able to hit them, get permanent max health, heals you, deals more damage. It's just great if you're going to be stacking a lot of health, you're going into combat, you're, let's say, a Darius or something, this could be really good on. Aftershock, I super love this ability. If you're a hard initiate, like jump in, stun them, and that's your team's initiate, this is super good. So if you're like an Amumu jumping in, a Poppy, someone who's you're jumping right into their front line, into their back line, and the extra magic resist and armor plus 20 and then plus 30% for 2.5 seconds, it's enough to sustain you through their initial burst. The damage is kind of nice, but it's more for the sustain of you're actually able to jump in, survive, and then keep going after that without getting chunked. Guardian, I don't like. I think that it's too high a cooldown of 45 seconds, and its radius of 175 units is pretty small, so it's pretty easy to proc it on the wrong target, and it's just not great. I feel like it's a bit too situational. In this tier, I think Unflinching isn't that great because it's Summoner spell reliant. Demolish, well, you shouldn't necessarily have a lot of trouble taking down turrets, so probably also not great. And then Font of Life is actually really nice, so just let's say you're a Bundo and you threw a Cleaver, well, now the enemy's impaired, so if anyone hits them, they get 5 plus 1% of your max health back, so that could actually be quite a lot, especially for a squishier AD carry or AP carry. Moving on to this tier, I think Iron Skin and Mirror Shell are both useful, but the fact that you don't know what the enemy team is going to be going into the match, it's not as good as if you're playing Summoner's Rift and you know what you're up against. The added healing and shield effect is nice, but I think that conditioning is a lot better. Getting you that 8 and 8 MR and armor at 10 minutes, it does come a bit later than I'd ideally like, but that the 5% bonus armor and magic resist can really add up. If you're approaching 200 MR, getting that extra little bit it's a nice thing to have. And then the bottom tier, Overgrowth is nice. I just don't think it doesn't really add up to too much health over the course of a game. Maybe a couple hundred. So it's okay. Revitalize, if you have a heal or a shield, well then it's actually really useful. Even if you have a self shield, like a Jarvan shield or something like that. Or if you're a Thresh with a shield and you want to go tanky, right, this is pretty good. Rakan also does well with this as well. Second Wind, I am not the biggest fan of it just because although it does heal you for 4% of your minting health, it heals you over 10 seconds. So it's really easy. If you get 2 shots from an AD carry, that'll probably do more than 4% your health, and I just don't think that it's all that great compared to the other ones. And finally, we're moving on to Inspiration. Out of the Keystones, I think the best one is Glacial Augment. If your team is lacking a lot of CC, hard CC, and you just want to bring more crowd control to the table, this is really nice to get that extra slow in. Especially if you can actually use the active item to shoot the freeze ray and slow everyone around them. It can be really useful. I've seen it be used quite effectively on a Singed or something like that. Works pretty well. I mean, Garen could also go for it. Unsealed Spellbook is useful as just it allows you the option to change your spells on the fly. So if you want to start the game with, let's say, a Flash Ignite to have that early kill pressure, well, that would be useful, and then as the game transitions on, let's say they have a fed carry of some description, well, you swap it off for an exhaust, and you can just shut that target down for a while. So this is kind of useful. I just don't think in general that the inspiration tier is quite as good as the other tiers in Aram, or the other, what are they called? Other freaking, you know, the other abilities like the precision, domination, sorcery, resolve. Like I don't think inspiration's as good as some of them. Kleptomancy is pretty good. I think that the gold that you gain from it is definitely nice, but the consumables that you get quickly become not super relevant, so I don't think it's as good and as impactful as some of the other keystones. Moving on to this, Hextech Flash Traption, I don't think it's that great. Like, you can't, like, flash over walls or stuff like that. So, I mean, it's kind of useful if you're Blitzcrank and you want to, like, flash from one bush to another and then pull someone around minions. Okay, sure. Biscuit Delivery, I think it's pretty good, but it's only early game, and the biscuits don't really do too much. It can definitely help out, but I don't think it's super great. And Perfect Timing is really nice if you're going for a Gargoyle Stoneplate or Zanya's Hourglass, because you get that free stopwatch. Well, right, you can't use it for Guardian Angel because you can't build Guardian Angel in Aram, so that is useless part of it. But if you're like a Morgana or a Heimerdinger who builds a Zanya's really early, this could be pretty good. Out of these three, I don't think Minion Dematerializer is all that great. Kill some minions, you do some extra damage to those minion types. It's not like a lot of combat stats. Futures Market is okay. I don't think that the debt limit is nearly enough to kind of warrant it, although it does help with some like item timings, being able to buy that, like, let's say IE or like needlessly large rod Rabadons when you die. It can be pretty nice and useful. And then there's Magical Footwear, and I personally think that Magical Footwear is slightly OP. As in Aram, with the speed of kills, it's usual that you'll get your like slightly magical boots at around 7 minutes. If your team's doing really well, you'll get it at like 5. If your team's doing like okay, you'll get it at like 8 minutes. So you get those free boots, and then the minus 50 gold upgrade cost is also nice. So you're saving yourself 350 gold right there. But then the bonus 10% or 10 move speed is actually huge, as that extra 10% makes it, or extra 10 move speed makes it easier to dodge skill shots, follow up on engages, like peel, kite. Like, it just makes it so much like nicer to have that extra move speed, especially when you pair it with something like approach velocity, which I also really like, being able to stick on a target that you're like on top of, or go to and peel for like one of your carries. This is really nice. No cooldown, 1000 range, pretty large range. So I really like this combo of Magical Footwear and approach velocity. I am pretty likely to take it as like my secondary path, just to grab these two because they're really good. Also in this tier, I don't think Celestial Body's that great. 100 health is nice, but minus 10 damage to champions and monsters, well, you're just like hamstringing yourself for 100 health. It's not that great, especially at the pace of which the games are actually moving at. And then there is Cosmic Insight, which I think is actually pretty good. Just having that extra CDR and Summoner Spell and item CDR, it's nice. So you can build a lot of these active items, makes your Zanyas on a shorter cooldown, makes, like, let's say your Bork on a shorter cooldown. It's nice to have, but I still prefer approach velocity. So now that we've kind of gone through some of my like initial thoughts on all of the runes, and if you want to you just skipped ahead from the timestamp in the description below, we'll get into some of these, I guess, kind of template builds that I usually go for. So for 80 carry, this is the pretty standard. So right, press the attack, overheal, Legend Bloodline. If you're going to go attack speed scaling, then Lethal Tempo and Legend Alacrity is great, and then Cut Down. Of these, take Cheap Shot and Ravenous Hunter, so you get some more damage and some more healing. Although if you have like a dash or a jump, then Sudden Impact is totally great to get as well. going into mages, this is probably the standard that you'll get. Arcane Comet, Mana Flow, Transcendence, Scorch, and then probably another Ravenous Hunter or Cheap Shot if you want to be. You could also go this, get Magical Footwear, Approach Velocity, just because I really like this combo, but that's just me. But yeah, if you want that more damage, you could go something like that. If we're looking at, let's say, a Bruiser, you probably want Dark Harvest. I think that it just outclasses all the other keystones. It just beats them all. If you have a right dash, you go for sudden impact. If not, and you have some CC, Cheap Shot's always good. Ghost Poro just gives you that brush control. Ravenous Hunter is great. And then if you want to be tankier, you can go Font of Life and Conditioning. If you want to, like, if you have mana problems, take Mana Flow and Scorch. If you want to really do more damage, I'd probably take, like, Bloodline Cut Down, depending on how much health you're planning to build. This is more of, like, if you're, like, a Zed, Talon, Yasuo, and you're not going to be building a lot of health. You're going to be pretty squishy, but you just want to deal that damage. That's pretty good. And then you can always take, right, your Magical Footwear and Approach Velocity. And then, finally, the last kind of template build is your tank build. So, right, Grasp of the Undying, Font of Life, Conditioning, and Overgrowth. If you're an Initiate, you take Aftershock instead. And then I just think that Magical Footwear and Approach Velocity is the best on these guys, as you're going to be able to stick on your targets a lot easier, make their carries' life a pain in the ass. Or if you really need to, you can be on your carries and just peel shit off of them. And yeah, that is the new runes, and what you should do for Aram. I hope that this guide finds some people, helps some people out, so you can win some more Aram games. Yeah, hopefully you liked it. Leave me any question, comment, and critique down in the comment section down below. Always good to hear what you guys think, what your experiences are trying these out. What are your own special builds or stuff for specific champions? Always good to hear. And yeah, smash that like button, as I have to say now, apparently. Subscribe if you haven't, always helps the channel, and I'll see you guys in game.